Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. The South African economy is even in more trouble than earlier thought. The economy entered a recession in the fourth quarter of last year, contracting 1.4%, even deeper than the 0.8% decline in the third quarter. The local economy only managed growth of only 0.2% for the whole of 2019. And to discuss this, we are joined in the studio by Owen Nkomo, who is the CEO of Inkunzi Wealth Group. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Colin, for having me.
Right, so the president says that we shouldn't be surprised. The signs were there.
Yeah, I agree with him. I agree with him on that note, certainly. I mean, the sectors, as you're aware, the bulk of the sectors have been underperforming. You know, gold mining has been struggling, manufacturing has been struggling, agriculture has been struggling as well. And I think it's no surprise that this number came in this aggressively. It just shows that there is a very big disparity between the perceptions that the economists and the market analysts out there have about what's really happening on the ground and the actuality. Because I mean, the guys were asking for 0.1% decline for that quarter. And I think that, the actual number that came through surprised quite a lot of the guys who were calling for a lower number. It shows that things are actually far worse than we are thinking that they are.
Is the worse than expected decline reflective of the attitude towards how everybody is seeing the South African economy, that it's not really in a good state and things could have been worse?
No, look, I mean, I think that the fact that the numbers are worse off than what the market was looking for is a reflection, in my view, of the fact that we actually too conservative about our assessment of how bad the economy really is. And I think if you consider the fact that there's this coronavirus which has played havoc across the world in this current quarter that we're in, going into the last month of this quarter, I can almost guarantee that we're going to have another bad quarter coming through after the last quarter of last year, based on just the productivity numbers we're seeing coming out of China, which are very depressed. And China is a very big partner for trade with us here at home. And I certainly think that a lot of businesses are starting to feel the impact of the coronavirus challenge, which is just going to exacerbate our problems in terms of our economy growing.
So when we take a look at the graph and observe some of the factors that have really been contributing towards this decline, let's take a look at manufacturing, minus 1.8%. When you focus in that sector and you look at agriculture, what is really the problem in terms of improving production?
Look, I mean, you can only produce if you've got a big market that is looking for your products, right? I mean, the PMI numbers that continue to come through show a little bit of contraction. It just says that the people that are supposed to be your customers, whether in South Africa or overseas, have put brakes on their ordering rate to you. So you want to also reduce your level of output because you don't have big orders coming through. And I think the same challenge is faced obviously by agriculture, and maybe for some other different reasons. We've had the drought recently that are impacted agriculture, but then again the sector is relatively seasonal. Getting transport and communication and construction, these are some of the sectors that actually carried the country a few years ago. And it's 7 out of 10 sectors are the negative, Colin. And I think it's just testament to the fact that 70% of our perceptions need to be extremely cautious about where the country is going. We need to be very brave and start to accept that things are not looking okay, and we need to continue, as I've called for it before, to make the more difficult decisions that will allow us to still have a country and an economy to run, because we can't continue like this as if we are not aware of what the numbers are doing. The numbers, as they say, don't lie.
Now, minus 7.6% on agriculture. I mean, this year we've had what one can term satisfactory rainfall patterns, and going forward, expecting a bumper crop season. Say the numbers come on the upside. Is that something that one can really bank on?
Look, I mean, you can't just bank on agriculture alone. You want all the sectors to perform. And I think that definitely, I agree with you, the rain has been better this year. But in light of the fact that you're seeing a whole lot of sectors underperforming, you need to make sure that if there's some improvement that comes through this year, I don't know where it's going to come from. As much of an optimist as I am, I really think that these numbers are telling us a different story. You need all these other sectors to also do well, and we need to make sure that we don't get major interruptions coming from Eskom as well. If we do get continued interruptions from Eskom, this picture can only get worse.
What is it that government needs to do in order to turn this economy around? I mean, you were mentioning the attitude of being conservative, but doesn't the economy need some quick fixes?
You know, we need quick fixes. We need quick decisions to be made. We need to realize that if we continue to be relaxed about some of the elements that the government needs to tweak to make sure the economy can work, some of these decisions are obviously not being made because there's so many vested interests. I've said before on the show that I think we need to find a middle ground between the private sector and get the private sector to start looking to do investments in some of the infrastructure that the government requires so that it reduces the burden on the government. But the government also has to play a part in making sure that when the running of the state funds is giving investors confidence that they will get paid out for any capital that's get raised by the private sector. You need the unions also to start to speak a different language, because this is a different environment that we're operating under. You cannot continue as if all is normal, because it's certainly not, according to these numbers. You will run the economy down to such a stage that you will not be able to save businesses, and more people are going to lose work. So their conversation around job protection should start to be a different one. Maybe we start talking about, can we consider reducing people's salaries? I know it's a difficult thing to suggest, but Greece, Portugal, Ireland, and Italy, and a few other countries in Europe, when they were going through their worst economic environment in the past few years, they did the most drastic changes to their economic principles and policies, and now they do have countries to run. I fear that if we don't do that, Colin, we might not have an economy left to run. I mean, things are just going to get worse. You will find that the government might not even be able to pay for the social grants that get paid today. So I think we need to fix our economy and start to see the government spending on infrastructure so that the GDP can tick better. You need to fight corruption, and you need to make sure that all these other elements, the government, private sector, and the unions, are fighting for South Africa, not for themselves.
So when we bring this discussion closer to home, what does it mean for the ordinary person that we have a technical recession?
Yeah, I mean, a technical recession is, you have 2 quarters that have been negative in terms of growth. We will have, I think, in my view, we'll have another negative quarter. Previously, we had 2 quarters that are negative, but the next one was positive. But given the conversation around coronavirus, I think the current quarter will be negative. But for the people at home, it means the economy is difficult. Don't waste any money. Save your cash for a rainy day. Your job is not secure, and you might start to have difficult conversations with your government as the government tries to control spending. And at the same time, I think that the president must sleep fewer hours together with his team to sort out this problem that we have.
All right. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Owen Nkomo is CEO of Inkunzi Wealth Group, talking to us about the South African GDP figure that has just come out today.